Hi, and welcome back to my channel, where I will be introducing you to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Bard class. In this video, I will be explaining what a Bard is, what their primary stats are, what backgrounds work best with the Bard, as well as provide a brief description of the subclasses provided by the player's handbook. A subsequent video will then run through the process of creating a level 1 character, as well as finalize the setup of that character to get it ready for use. And finally, one or more additional videos will show the various features and abilities gained for the base class at various levels, all the way through to level 20. So let's get started with what is a bard. A bard is not your typical jester or singer-songwriter or storyteller, but is someone who can use magic to enhance the overall experience their entertainment provides, while also being able to use that same magic for offensive, defensive, or support purposes. They will travel the world to entertain and gather knowledge, both the arcane and mundane, for a number of reasons. The first, and most obvious, is to use that knowledge to create new stories to be told by their chosen form of artistic style. As a result, it is not uncommon for a bard to spy on the very patrons they were just entertaining, thus supplying their source of income with a nearly infinite source of inspiration. A more obscure reason is to acquire information for various types of organizations that might find it useful. For example, the Harper's organization within the Forgotten Realms world have a number of bards within their employ. Those bards help gather information the Harpers will need to achieve their goals, and in quite a few cases will be heavily involved with subsequent missions to help maintain the overall societal balance, and in some cases render evil inert. As a result, they will always be paying attention to the various conversations taking place around them for any information that might be pertinent to the interests of said organization. You might think that a typical jester or musician might function just as well under the same situation, and you'd not be wrong. However, a bard's ability to be able to cast magical spells through their chosen artistic style can get them into places a standard entertainer might not be able to reach, giving them a bit of an edge. It is also not uncommon for a bard to have fallen in with an adventuring party, as the adventure and the party will most likely end up being the source of that bard's stories. But that does not mean that they're simply there for entertainment value. They will also heavily take part in most aspects of that adventure. For example, a bard can provide inspirational bonuses to party members that they can then use to complement a saving throw, ability check, or attack roll. Now, I keep saying various forms of entertainment or artistic style. What do I mean by that? Well, bards will attend a college, which I will get to in a little bit, to help hone their bardic skills, and in that process will learn a number of potential artistic styles to help them accomplish their goals. A bard will typically use a different art form such as dance, music, storytelling, and potentially even painting to help present their stories, and in some cases will use multiple styles at once. It really comes down to the imagination of the player controlling the character in question to determine how much detail they want to put into how their character uses their magic. As for the colleges, there are only two that are provided by the player's handbook, but there are others provided by the other supplemental modules. The initial colleges are the College of Lore and the College of Valor. Each has their own set of guidelines for their bards. The members of the College of Lore will always pursue truth and will relish the honesty of that truth. As such, their stories will always encompass large portions of truth ingrained in them, while adding some artistic flair, if you will, to help push the lessons of that story and make them stick. They are also the type of bard that will typically get involved in political intrigue as a way to ensure those in power remain honest and shame or tear down those who abuse it. It is this style of bard that will most likely take part in an organization like the Harpers, for instance. The members of College of Valor work to keep alive the memories of fallen heroes to help inspire the next generation. They will always rush to locations where momentous and world-shaping events are taking place and will craft legends around the people involved. Additionally, they will sometimes inject themselves into the parties involved in those events to better understand those they intend to portray in their stories. It is this group of bard that will most likely be the adventuring kind and will embed themselves into a party to record its chronicles. However, it's possible for a bard of either type to do what they feel they must in order to tell their stories. So bards of lore do travel with parties, but will be more involved in understanding the lore that the party finds. Whereas the Bards of Valor might see an organization like the Harpers as something that will be heavily involved in shaping heroes and worlds, so they will also get involved there as well. Now let's move on to what you need to know to help plan out your character. The first is that a Bard's primary and casting ability is their charisma, as most of their magic or interactions will involve their charismatic nature and how they present that magic that they are casting. The next important ability is their dexterity, as it is one of their proficient saving throws, but it also ties into their use of finesse-related weapons such as the rapier or short swords. However, if you intend to use a longsword, which is an option for a bard, you should look at having a decent strength stat, as the longsword won't gain any benefit with the dexterity or charisma scores. Also, a good constitution will help round out your character in relation to any concentration checks you might have to do as a result of combat and trying to concentrate on a given spell and getting hit in the process. And finally, having the ability to potentially craft stories or songs that you could then use to entertain the party will add value to an overall campaign because you're going to essentially inject role playing into that whole process. But it's really optional in the sense that you don't necessarily need to do it if you don't have the ability or are uncomfortable doing it. You don't have to. It's simply an option for players who do like that aspect of D&D to be able to have an outlet for those particular capabilities, if you will. And the last thing that I want to go over are the various backgrounds that work best with the Bard. The first is the Entertainer background, and it's the one recommended by the Quick Build option for the Bard. This works best because it allows you to make use of your charisma and dexterity to help ensure your performances are the most entertaining. With the acrobatics skill, you can move about the stage as required and not be limited to simply wandering around, but it can add tumbling, parkour, or other acrobatic movements to add physical flair to the performances. While the performance skill would ensure your stage presence was at the top of your game. There are 3 other backgrounds that won't work as well but are still viable for use as the Bard, and they are the Charlatan, the Noble, and Sage backgrounds. A Charlatan would be useful for blending your bardic abilities with deception and sleight of hand magics to allow you to sneak around more effectively, giving you options an entertainer might not have available to them. While the Noble would get you access to events that might otherwise be unavailable to a bard who is lower level, such as exclusive balls and parties. And finally, the Sage would complement the lore aspect of the bardic roles and give you the means to ensure your stories and performances based on historical or arcane events were as accurate as they could be. And there might be other backgrounds provided by the various supplements as well that were not covered in this video, so don't think that these are your only options. But any background can work. Some will simply require more effort than others to make them fit. Now you might be thinking, why have you not covered anything about the various races? Well, in relation to which of the races work best for the Bard class, it doesn't really matter that much, as long as your dice rolls turn out nicely. But any race that provides charisma and dexterity bonuses will definitely help you out. However, with the introduction of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, its racial options give you the ability to create a character with a custom lineage, and you can essentially choose to throw your traits and your bonuses around to any particular aspect that you wish to. So it pretty much makes choosing a race a non-existent problem. And that covers most of the important details about the Bard class itself. So I'm going to end this video here and move on to a character creation video so that you can see how Fantasy Grounds will allow us to quickly create and set up the character. I hope you found this video informative, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I wish to thank you for taking the time to watch this particular video. I hope you found it informative and useful to familiarizing yourself with Fantasy Grounds in general, and that you had fun in the process. If you found the video useful and you liked the content of the particular video, go ahead and click that like button to let me know. And if you have any questions specific to the topic covered by this particular video, or just have some comments in general, please feel free to post something in the comments section, and I will do my best to respond to any questions that are asked. Additionally, I do release content quite regularly, and it's generally specific to Fantasy Grounds or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons at this time. So if you'd like to be notified when new videos come out, go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell to ensure that notification is sent to you when I release a new video.